So this season on The Real Housewives of Potomac, the reunion opens up not with the women all arriving to the studio and getting glammed, but in this very pared down confessional. With Karen, just 12 hours after she was found guilty of DUI and 6 other charges. Karen's sitting there in this knit cap without a stitch of makeup on, and the producer says, "The verdict was read. What was your initial reaction?" And she says, "Well, my heart dropped." And then they start flashing back to all those crazy headlines, all that police body cam footage, and my God, it is insane. Karen says, "This is all very frightening, but I accept full responsibility for what went on with my car accident." And then they flash back to even crazier footage. And then they cut back to Karen, who's crying and saying, "I don't care about me right now. I care about my children. I care about my family." Then the producer asks her, "Do you think you have a problem with alcohol?" And Karen says, "No, I'm not an alcoholic. Let's be clear. I know a lot of young children look up to me. They call me Auntie Karen, the Grand Dame. And to them I say this, do as I say, not as I do." So at this point, the reunion hasn't even really started, but this shit is already insane. And shit continues to go sideways as the rest of the women arrive to the reunion and realize that the Grand Dame is nowhere to be found. Some of the women are surprised she's not there, some of them not so much. Ashley says, of course she's not gonna be here. She knows that we've all seen the footage and now know that she's been lying to us for the last 3 months. Then the ladies all take the stage, everybody but Karen, that is. And Andy greets all the women and then explains to them that the reason that Karen isn't with them today is because she's checked herself into a rehab facility. And then Wendy wonders out loud if the reason that she checked herself in was to actually get help or just lighten her sentence. Andy says, "Speaking of Karen, she sent you all a message." And then we cut to Karen in a confessional. And let me just tell you, this confessional, this looked completely different than that pared down confessional that they opened the show with. That one was raw and real and you could feel the emotion. And this one was gaudy and glitzy and overproduced. Very much like the way all the rest of the women looked. Gaudy, glitzy, and overproduced. That's just my opinion. In the confessional, she addresses why she's not there and says that she's going away to a treatment facility to address antidepressants and drinking. She says she wants to get to the bottom of it. Then she says, but I would be remiss to not address and thank some of the people in the group. Then Karen goes on to mention Gizelle, Jazzy, Kay, Candace, even Andy. But not Wendy, the one person who has ridden for her longer and harder than anyone. Karen says, "Andy, you and Gizelle can fight about who called me the Grand Dame first, but I'm coming back as Karen Huger only, because that is enough." Once the video was over and Wendy realized that she was indeed omitted from this thank you list, then suddenly all of those things that Gizelle has been telling her over the years about how Karen really feels about her started to ring true. Then Wendy looked at that screen and said, "That's not my friend." Andy asked Wendy, "Do you regret taking Karen to the White House?" And Wendy goes, "Yes, I do." Andy said he thought the most interesting part of the message was Karen saying that she was coming back as Karen Huger only. And I agree, but I just can't help but wonder if that's truly her authentic intention or just something someone in PR told her to say. Then they dive into the new and improved relationship that's budding between Gizelle and Wendy. And speaking of budding, Wendy says that Happy Eddie is doing great. And when Stacey pipes up and gives it a rave review, Gizelle says, "Hey, aren't you planning on starting your own Happy Eddie?" Stacey says no, and Gizelle says, "Hold on, you didn't meet with someone and tell them that they should work with you because you're a celebrity?" Stacey says, "Absolutely not." And then Gizelle says to Wendy, "Hey Wendy, next year if she's got her own Happy Stacey, don't be surprised." Then somebody wrote in and asked Wendy about that scene where she was talking about the fact that her kids don't get their inheritance unless they get a master's degree. And Wendy goes on to say that she has different stipulations. Like if they learn to speak her language, they get an extra bonus. If her daughter goes to her sorority, she gets a bonus. Which really to me just sounds like those kids are being incentivized to live Wendy's idea of what their life should look like. Which is really no different than what her mother has done to her. I mean, what if they go out and cure cancer and that wasn't on Wendy's list? Do they get anything for that? Then Stacey says, "You know, I stood by Karen when people were mocking her, and then months later, she didn't stand by me." And then Wendy says, funny enough, when Stacey was joining the group, and I haven't told you this yet, but Karen told me to be very careful of the woman coming into the group because she's very smart and she's very educated. And then from across the room, Gizelle goes, "But is she? Is Stacey smart and educated?" And then suddenly everybody is talking about the fact that that's what Karen does. Karen grooms the new girls when they come in, which doesn't surprise me at all. Karen is such a manipulator. Then they bring Jazzy out, and Jazzy brings out her wedding invitations. Then they go over the timeline of her relationship with her boyfriend, and honestly, so boring. Who cares? Andy asks Ashley about the state of her divorce, and she says that they're in their final stages. Then he turns to Mia and asks her about the state of her divorce, and she says, we're in the final stages too. And everybody goes, liar. Andy asked Ashley and Gizelle about the state of GNA, and they said that they are not trying to make money anymore. Now they're just about community outreach. I'm not sure how that pays the bills, but good luck to them. And then it's all about Mia being MIA in Miami. I mean, honestly, this woman is wacko. And I don't mean wacky, I mean wacko. Big difference. So in a nutshell, Mia invited Stacy and Jazzy to her big birthday party in Miami, complete with beautiful invitations. And they decide to go, they RSVP, and when they land in Miami, they text Mia. And then they called Mia, but got no answer and no response. So then they go to the planned dinner at the designated restaurant at the designated time, where there's a reservation, but Mia is still not there. And an hour after the dinner start time, Mia is still not there. So they finally leave, and suffice it to say, they went all the way to Miami and never saw Mia. Mia responds and says, well, it's because I hired a party planner for people to RSVP to, so I never really even knew that they were coming. And Stacy yells, you're a liar! You're a liar! You're a liar! Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Girl, bye. Stop. Don't play with me. Then Stacy hands Andy her phone and he reads the entire text thread. Andy reads a text from Mia that includes all the birthday details and the itinerary. Stacy responds, Mia, thank you so much for that special surprise. How fab. I'm so excited to celebrate with you, babe. I'm coming. And Mia responds, amazing. Can't wait to see you, beautiful. Then Andy reads, on Sunday, Stacy says, happy birthday, beautiful. I'm here in Miami, ready to celebrate you. And it was read the next day. You responded at 12:15 in the morning. Where are you, queen? Stacy responds, I was so excited to celebrate you. I texted and called you all day with no response. I still showed up to your dinner party and no one was there an hour after it was supposed to start. That was disappointing and disrespectful. Look forward to seeing you soon. And Mia goes, so what's the problem? And I'm here to tell you there is something very wrong with that woman. She needs help and a lot of healing. But before the birthday blow up could blow over, Wendy pipes up and says, listen, if we're gonna be honest, the real elephant in the room is that she invited these two women, and I don't know if she invited anyone else, and they all said, hell no. And Stacy goes, what? You guys weren't invited? Then Mia starts crying, and when Andy tries to make it a moment, Wendy says, no, I'm sorry. I feel like this is what you do. Every time someone calls you on something, you start crying. I'm sorry, but as your friend, that stops today. Mia says, I know I was wrong. I fucked up again. I've been going through a lot. And Gizelle says, we all have. Ashley says, I've known you to be a good friend, so what happened? And Mia says, I know how to be a good friend, but in this season of my life, I've fallen short. Then Andy calls a break, everyone goes to their room, and Mia goes and knocks on Stacy's door. But when Mia can't explain to Stacy why she ghosted her, Stacy says, then I can't forgive you. And Mia runs away crying.